Welcome back to another section of the general crypto live market analysis, which in this particular today's session we'll be discussing what's been going on generally in the crypto market. Seeing Bitcoin on this accumulation rate for about a month now generally has caused this panic in the market, which always gets people to wonder, which always get the masses to wonder what next, which always there's always been this panic in the market ever since Bitcoin started this accumulation over the past 1 month from now. So basically in today's video we'll be discussing what are we to expect, what are the future price predictions of Bitcoin, what are the news, what are the fundamentals we have around. So we're going to look deeply into sentimental analysis and of course, yeah, generally what people are talking about the market and what you are meant to expect from here any moment from now. So thanks once again for staying live with me. So if you are new to this channel, you make sure you click the hit the thumb up button, then you click the share icon, share it across all your social media platforms, and get your friends right here, because today's video will generally be looking what's happening in the crypto market and reasons why you're not meant to panic. Okay, so so far in the crypto market it's been a crazy rally if you should think about it, starting all the way from $9,000 straight up to $65,000. That's a huge rally. But then after since Bitcoin peaked at that particular amount, April, we've actually seen this crazy fall at approximately 53% fall in the past 1 month. So what does that actually spell for Bitcoin? Are we meant to see is this a bear market, or is this just some sort of a pullback before the trend continues? So I did a check run to better understand what people are talking about the market, to better understand the sentiments around the crypto market. Then I get to find out that, of course, majority of the traders right out there are bearish, and then we have few that are actually bullish. Then in today's session, that's why I keep saying you make sure you share this particular video, just share it across the social media, so we get people, we get your followers still join and benefit from this particular session. So still on that, Bitcoin has been on this accumulation range, and that big question is, and the big question right now in the market is, where are we heading to, considering the fact that the fluctuations are actually crazy, seeing it go to 40,000 and coming back to 28,000 all over again. So that actually brings this panic in the market. So what are the news that we currently see? So top of the news on the week, top of the news, we have Michael Saylor, the owner of MicroStrategy, getting to buy again about 13,000 bitcoins with on OTC, with summing a total amount of $500 million. That's almost $500,000 getting right back into the market. So we are currently seeing institutions getting to come into the market. We are currently seeing huge buys while Bitcoin is still on this accumulation range. And of course, Michael Saylor, if not Michael Saylor, over the past few weeks, while Bitcoin has been ranging here, he's been accumulating. We've been seeing these buys from this angle. We've also been seeing these huge buys from other institutions. We've also been seeing these buys from retailers who are basically trying to hold at least minimum amount in Bitcoin value. So Michael Saylor getting to add about another $500 million, almost $500 million to his balance sheet, is something kind of like significant enough. And I did a check run to better understand why these people are buying Bitcoin and why are they not presently selling. Because when I checked on why the institutions are buying Bitcoin and why we've not yet broke 30K yet, I get to understand that Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy's average price that he bought, Bitcoin's buys average price is sitting around $26,000, which basically poses to having an approximately $7,000 in profit on every single Bitcoin is holding. So if you check the percentage gain on the money involved here, you get to understand that so far the institution has not yet really seen this huge profit spike in their trades that would get to force them to close their position. Same with other institutions. When I get to check what is actually happening. Why are they buying Bitcoin and not yet selling? So when I get after that, when I get to check that, when I get to check that, I realize that some of them actually are holding Bitcoin. Some are holding Bitcoin at loss, and then some are still holding Bitcoin just with little profits, which of course is pushing them not to sell, and they are still constantly buying. Then over the past few days, we've been seeing shorts piled up, shorts piles of being managed, shorts piled up as a means where the institutions are actually using to manipulate the market. They always get a feel their buy positions, and we have over 22,000 Bitcoins getting liquidated in about 2 days ago. So still that tells us that for now we are actually having these buys coming in from institutions, coming in from retailers. We are actually seeing these crazy buys coming in from from every angle, which still brings us to the fact that to understanding the fact that as long as Bitcoin maintains the 30K level, there's still hope for the Bitcoin, and there's still more of confluence surrounding the 30K level. We still, which of course I could remember, which of course I also talking about the sentimental type of analysis, talking about more news that are actually supporting this rally, supporting these present price actions to be kind of like the bottom before the macro trend continue. Is when I checked so far what the Pantera Capital, one of the biggest companies, hedge funds companies in the US, that are still holding some amount of Bitcoins. We're briefly going to check about what Pantera is actually their views about the whole general crypto market. So we get to understand that so far they normally on a post they published some days ago, 2 days ago, they talk about humans are pro-cyclical in nature. So you get to understand that there are particular points in the markets where generally humans get to understand that at this particular point we are meant to expect this. We are meant to expect some positive reactions in the market. And normally when that gets hyped, when that gets to be understood, you see them follow that particular movement in the market. So also paired to the Chinese ban so far, which they stress, they as well stress, we're going to look at what are the influences, what are the influences of different China banning cryptos and disruptive technology. We get to understand that at every point that China gets to ban crypto, there's always this huge surge in price. And then we have China, we have a couple of cases where China have actually get to ban cryptocurrency. Then we talk about come 2013 when China bans official financial companies from Bitcoin's transaction. Then we actually see what happened. Then we actually see this huge surge in price that was after the decline from the first peak it did. And then we also see, we have also checking on what we have here, checking on the notes we have here, we're seeing that a couple of times dated back from 2013, 2017, 2021, currently 2013, 2017, and till this date, we've always been seeing this positive surge in price after China gets to ban Bitcoin. So briefly, we're going to look at a graphic showing us what has actually been happening in other techs, in disruptive techs that China have been trying to get rid of. So far we have this return in disruptive tech that China have actually been banned, or have actually one way or the other get to remove from the economy. We have Twitter right here. In June 2019, in June 2009, after China get to talk about banning Twitter, the company get to experience about a 4,400% rally, similar to other technology. We talk about Facebook, we talk about Snapchat, we talk about Bitcoin at 2013 when they still tried this similar pattern. Bitcoin actually, they see this crazy rally at about 3,800% rally in price. Then come 2017, where we still had this particular China banning crypto, and we had this approximately 800% rally in the general crypto market. So the big question here is kind of like when you look at all this, when you look at all this previous data, it's more likely that China at every point in every market gets to always give this buy signal in any particular market. So history, data, tells us that that's actually the real case, with China always getting to ban disruptive tech. So that's it for for Pantera also getting to getting to raise funds still to buy crypto, which they have basically started which still brings me back to where I talked about institutions still raising money to buy crypto, which, if you should get to think about it, is more likely that we are still the early adopters of Bitcoin. We are still kind of like very, very early in the space, and there's literally no need. There's literally no need to panic. So briefly, we're going to look into the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, which we've been talking about all this while. Seeing the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index still bottoming out, and seeing buys coming in, and seeing kind of like sentiments kind of like bottoming out. So on the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, let's go to the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index and see what's the real data right there. So on the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, you actually get to understand that there's always been this steady bottom ever since Bitcoin peaked from $60,000. It has bottomed out a couple of times. So that's the Fear and Greed Index right there on the screen. So you can always get to understand right there, Bitcoin, this is a bottoming part, and it's kind of like tells you that right now the human's emotion, because this actually get to put out what actually people are feeling about the market, their fears, their excitement. This is actually what's been plotted on the graph. So if you check it, you'll see that we are kind of like at the bottom of the range, where we are generally, I'm going to say that the market right now is kind of like on still, remember, this accumulation phase, and people right now, the panic is kind of like getting double bottom a couple of times. You can see it bottoming out here. So that's it for the Bitcoin dominance. So let's go into real price actions to better understand what is currently happening in the Bitcoin market. So relative to the fundamentals surrounding it, relative to Chinese ban, relative to breaking all-time highs and corrections, just relative to everything right now, the news, the debt crosses, the panic, the fear, relative to everything right now concerning Bitcoin. So we're going to the Bitcoin. Let's check on the general Bitcoin price history on the macro level, what Bitcoin has been doing since 2017, ever since we initiated any particular burn. So right now we have this on our chart. We have this displayed on our chart since 2011, when Bitcoin started its first macro rally. So coming all the way from $100, which of course we had our first peak. It's around 1,200 approximately. So there's one thing about fractals. When you're trying to compare fractals, you compare bull to bull and bear to bear. You compare darkness to darkness and light to light. You don't just compare the opposite. All right. So when you look at this, when you look at the trend, it's just very obvious enough to understand that the Bitcoin is currently on a macro trend. So dated way back from 2011, where we first had our first correction after we peaked at $1,200, and then there's always this deviation. There's always this deviation about, let me say, approximately 40%. Bitcoin always do give that gap whenever I do create a new all-time high and have this particular correction. So while we're still waiting, it's kind of like we're having a technical issue. While we're still waiting for that to pop up on the screen, so that so it's still obvious, checking on that particular price data, it's still obvious that $30,000 is the bottom, and Bitcoin from here is more likely going to see a multi-$1,000 move in the long run. So we have, and one thing this data tells us, that Bitcoin never at some point get to retest its previous all-time high. We had our first macro rally right there from 2011 and get a peak around 2013 right there. Of course, we see the red zone showing the bear market, and then the green zone showing the bull market at every particular point in time. So when you look at this, you see that this was the first bull run. We started after we had the bear market right there in 2011. We normally, at any point when we break a previous all-time high, we normally get to have this first sell before the rally gets to continue, and that's happened around 2013. The first time Bitcoin peaked around $1,200, which it finally gets to accumulate for a while before it continues the trend. And normally when you get to check these price actions in the macro scale, you get to understand that there's always this untapped liquidity, unfilled liquidity at every macro rally. We have one coming around 2013, which is also in line with the Chinese ban, and which is also in line with the Chinese ban. You can see where we have it at 2013, where we have the unfilled liquidity. You can see where we have it at 2017. We also had that unfilled liquidity, about 32% gap Bitcoin normally gives to previous all-time high. And we also have it right there currently, right now in 2021, which still brings us to the big question: are we still going to maintain this particular fractal, or are we going to see a technical violation in fractals, in price actions that have been put up over time? So normally, just when you look at this chart, you get to understand that at any point that we break a previous all-time high, the general crypto market doesn't get to retest it. You can see here, right here in 2013, we get to break our previous all-time high at about $1,200. Bitcoin saw that huge pump right to 2017, right to $19,000 approximately. So you can get to see that at every point Bitcoin gets to create a new all-time high, it just does about 50% correction, which still doesn't put it to coming back to its previous all-time high before the macro rally continues. Every bull run on the macro scale do always have the first sell. We saw one right there in 2013, and then we saw the general macro top right there where the yellow line started before Bitcoin now initiated a bear market that lasted through 2015, which is actually the red zone. Then Bitcoin played there for a while and started another rally right there in 2013. All right, then we had our first correction when that rally started. All right, still around July, this still particular time, and Bitcoin masses were still expecting Bitcoin. I was actually expecting Bitcoin to retest its previous all-time high, but Bitcoin never did that. Bitcoin never retested $1,200. Instead, Bitcoin from that particular price, it rallied. It went up to $19,000. $20,000, approximately. And after that, we saw a bear market after that particular peak. So you can see this correlation within these peaks happening at. We have our first line. We have our first point of contact right here, 2013, and then we have our second point of contact, 2017, validating this yellow line as an important macro resistance whenever Bitcoin initiates a trendy move. So after 2013, of course, we had our bear market from 2018 right there to 2019. Of course, that was actually a very prolonged bear market, and then Bitcoin finally broke off. And still now continue this rally. Then we are now seeing similar cases which we've actually done in the past. Bitcoin now getting to peak at $65,000 and still getting supported by this same fractal that has been supporting Bitcoin for the past 10 years now. So Bitcoin currently trading at $8,000, which of course this price data tells us that there are still lots more to do in the market. There are still lots of percentages move to cover in the market, which if you check on the macro scale, that's sitting around the $350,000 mark. So if you should get to look at the bigger picture in Bitcoin, so you get to understand that Bitcoin is actually programmed to go up, that it's programmed to go up, and at any point, we never at any point get to retest our previous all-time high whenever we break above it. Then, which still leaves this big question: are we going to see a technical violation where we get to reset fractals, where fractals won't generally make sense? Well, let's see wait on that while we'll see how the whole stocks play out. So briefly, we're going to look at what actually makes this $30,000 more significant. Of course, we've seen the fundamentals behind it. We've seen China causing. We've always seen China's impact. All right, we've seen China's impact on how positive it has always get to turn 2013, 2017. Now let's get to check more on the macro scale, the support that's actually holding Bitcoin and making it kind of like still hold this crucial. Let's go to Bitcoin weekly and see. Let's pull up the weekly chart and see what's the reasons why Bitcoin is still maintaining this support line, and we've not yet get to see this breakdown below it. So briefly, we're going to the Bitcoin weekly chart to understand the confluences around 30K that makes it truly significant enough. That make it a really significant enough to be okay. Good. Now let's break this. Okay. All right. Now let's look at this is the Bitcoin daily chart. So let's get to I'll briefly explain this chart for you so you get to understand the complexes we're having at this particular point that's making the whole crypto market kind of like still healthy on the macro scale. So this is Bitcoin on the daily time frame, where we normally have the green section which marks the accumulation range, and then we have our previous all-time high sitting right there at $60,000 mark, and our bottom right there at $30,000 mark. And then we have this huge descending line coming all the way from $60,000 mark, and we have our supply zone on field liquidity at approximately $50,000 mark, which is calling for a price test in the long run. And coupled with this accumulation range, we've been seeing lots of bullish divergences put up on the macro time frames, on the daily, on the 12 hour, on the 4 hour, on the 2 days, on the 3 days. It's still kind of like pushing this, that is more likely going to be the bottom before the macro rally continues. So this is it for the daily. Of course, on-chain. When I still check on some on-chain tools and draw my data and analysis, I get to understand that it's more likely we follow this huge pattern where we get off this accumulation range and then find ourselves playing around this big descending triangle, coming with a bottom at around $40,000 mark. So that's it for the Bitcoin on the daily, with confluences around $30,000 mark, marking as a support, which of course, remember, previous resistance becomes a support and validates present price support. So first time when we had our first rally up to $45,000, it ended up that we came back to $30,000, which served as a support, and right now we're still having it, seeing it serve as another support in the general Bitcoin rally. So briefly, we're still going to look at the Bitcoin on the weekly to better understand what more of support lines are still within that $30,000 mark that's generally holding the market from crashing. So when you look at the Bitcoin on the weekly chart, you get to understand that we have Fibonacci extension level right there on that particular chart. Right there we have our 1.618 Fibonacci extension level. That if you check previous rallies, it's been a huge point of reflection of every rally, where whenever we get to have this particular peak, we come down, we retest it before price gets to see these movements to the upside. Right now, that 1.618 Fibonacci extension level is sitting around the $30,000 mark, which of course we've not yet tested the top of the range, which is the 2.168 Fibonacci level, which is sitting at the $49,000 mark approximately, which I always talk about the huge macro supply zone. We've not yet tested it, and seeing Bitcoin bounce off support a couple of times still tells us that of course this is gonna hold, and we are more likely going to see this movement to the upside to our huge points of contact. But then while we're still waiting for that, while we're still waiting for that, it's also very significant to understand that as long as Bitcoin maintains the $1.1 trillion market cap, there's literally no need to panic. There's always this correlation between the Bitcoin price actions and the market cap. So briefly, we're going to look at the Bitcoin general crypto market cap to better understanding why these levels have actually been holding us for a while, and why we've not yet really seen this fall, this crash in price over time. So let's go to the Bitcoin, let's go to the general crypto market cap to understand why the $1.1 trillion has been holding us for a while now, and why we've not yet gone below it. So we have the Bitcoin, we have the general crypto market cap still sitting around $1.1 trillion, which is that's very huge, guys. And then of course it's still maintaining the 1.618 Fibonacci extension level, with our huge point of contact sitting at the 2.618 Fibonacci extension level. So this chart is more like similar to Bitcoin. And when you look at fractals, previous supports, and when you look at events that in the past leads to this crash, you always get to understand that this particular point is the point where the rally gets to take off until it gets invalidated, until perhaps we want to invalidate what's been happening. That's when I talk about technical violation, which is generally not going to be good for the crypto market. So that's it for the Bitcoin market cap, general crypto market cap, still in this particular range, which of course we've not yet tested the top of the range, and the support has been bouncing a couple of times, with more chances, checking on the lower time frame, with more chances of going to test our huge supply zone, sitting right above us at and the 2.168 Fibonacci extension level. So far in the past few weeks, have actually been some crazy price action in the general crypto market, crashing from $40,000 down to $28,000. So we're going to look at the Nomis price data to understand how many percentage in movements have this market actually get covered. So when you look at Bitcoin, when you look at the general Bitcoin market, you get to understand that in the past 7 days, there have been approximately 2%. There's approximately 2% in price movement from this is the 7 days. That right here is still telling us about 15 billion. This is Bitcoin style, which still tells us about 15 billion generally have been added to the crypto market. And then we have 2.5% movement approximately. We have up to with an all-time high sitting at $63,000 according to Nomis. And then we have 71 days since our previous all-time high, and volume change in about 24 hours. We start talking about minus 15 billion. So we're going to look into BNB to see what BNB has been doing, and so far what's the price change in BNB and how much has been added to the BNB market. So let's check on what BNB has been doing and how much has been added to the BNB market. So on BNB, we've actually been seeing this. Normally, Bitcoin gets to drag every other market. Every other market moves alongside Bitcoin, which if this happens, if Bitcoin gets to see this movement to the upside, altcoins generally gets to follow it. And if Bitcoin gets to see this movement to the downside, altcoins generally follow it, even do 2 times what Bitcoin is. So BNB so far, market cap is still kind of like still high, still very healthy. Market cap sitting around 3 billion, and that's the market cap change, 3 billion in the past 7 days. And then we have in the past 7 days, price has done approximately 9%, and in the past 51 days, it's been past 51 days since it retraced to the retraced from the previous all-time high with a market cap of about $45 billion. So let's check on Ethereum and see what Ethereum is doing. What is the price stance for Ethereum and how much percentage it's been able to do in the past 1 week. So far in Ethereum, we have about 3% movement covered in the past 7 days, with a market cap of around 230 billion, and then 45% correction since it touched the previous all-time high since about 43 days ago. And then so that's it for Ethereum. We're still seeing volume coming in. We're still seeing green actually coming in the Ethereum market. So we're going to look into Ripple. Let's see what Ripple has been doing and how much percentage has been able to cover in the past 7 days. So far for Ripple, this is so far a 7.5% rally. And then we have a market cap change of about 2 billion in the Ripple market. And then price is currently trading at the $0.6 dollar, and then volume change in the past 7 days is almost a billion. That's half a billion. And then we have still market cap rank at 8, is still standing among the top 10. And then we have the general market cap of H0P sitting around 26 billion. So that's it for the major altcoins. Still holding within their range, while Bitcoin tells what next. So we also have much of data getting to put 30K as the bottom until it gets validated. We're going to look briefly into the Bitcoin general crypto dominance to better understand why 30K has been bouncing us, and why is more likely going to hold before we see this huge surge in price. So on the Bitcoin dominance, remember the last time I talked about the possibility of getting to reverse from this point and see this rally to the upside. So far, this is kind of a local low confirmed already, and this is what this chart normally does. This tells you that for now, the market is about to see a relief rally, and it doesn't just happen real quick. Bitcoin first need to stabilize before every other market get to pull up their own movement. So far, we've still seen we've seen the bottom already confirmed with our targets way up to all those levels, which of course Bitcoin need to stabilize at all those levels before the money starts moving to the altcoin market. Bitcoin first moves, the money gradually gets to move to the altcoin market. This is already signaling a bottom. I've always talked about this over the past weeks, and there's nothing literally bad here, and there's really nothing to panic about in the general crypto market. So here's the thing. As long as Bitcoin maintains a $1.1 trillion mark, and as long as Bitcoin maintains 30,000, as long as the general crypto market maintains a $1.1 trillion mark, and as long as Bitcoin maintains $30,000 mark, and as long as the market dominance is not breaking 40 yet, it's still maintaining this support line, there's literally no need to panic. And checking on price history, checking on fractals, checking on fundamentals surrounding Bitcoin at this particular point, it's obvious to understand that we are kind of like at the bottom of the rally. We are kind of like early adopters, and we've not yet, the biggest gain in the crypto industry have not yet been seen. So with price projections way up until it gets invalidated. Nobody owns the market. Of course, the market can get a pull up any move. The market can get a pull up any move without even our conscience, and news can come up there and the market gets to crash violently. So, but then looking at price histories, looking at data, looking at some on-chain tools, it's obvious to just understand that the bottom is in until perhaps it gets invalidated. And also getting to learn about China cases of banning disruptive tech and the positive effects that it has had on the prices. So it's still better to understand that, it's still obvious to understand that this particular price is more likely going to hold, and until we break it, there's literally no need to panic, and there's literally no need to panic, and Bitcoin is just literally healthy and more. I'm ready to see more rally to the upside. Also considering the huge buys coming from different institutions, and then getting to see just these huge buys coming in along this accumulation range, it still gets to point us that it still gets to signal 30K to be the bottom. Bitcoin is once again flashing the signal it has been flashing for the past 10 years, and the big question is, are we going to invalidate it, which of course it has 20% chances of happening, checking on how effective that the fractals has always been in the past. So that's it for Bitcoin, that's it for the general crypto market cap, that's it for everything, and that's it for everything. So you make sure you click the like button, hit the like button, and share this across the social medias, and just get your friends, and let's take this page up to $10,000. Remember, up to 10,000 followers. Remember, that's always been a target. And I'm going to attend to a few questions. All right, let me share me your thoughts, what you think about the market, and of course, you want to get connected to a community where we generally get to talk about the market and give future price predictions and our analysis, our general views, and where you get to normally be exposed and some other opportunities that is available in the whole blockchain space. You can visit Dab.school and pick up the trade and make money course, so you get added to the community. Any questions coming from the audience? I'll pick few questions here. More like we don't have any. Okay, more like we don't have any question coming from this angle. More like we don't have any question coming from this angle. So, more like we don't have any question coming from this angle. So, that's it for the general crypto market. That's it for Bitcoin, still maintaining this support line and still just generally healthy with fractals, with price histories, getting to show this continuation to the upside until perhaps it gets invalidated. So that's it for Bitcoin. Thanks for watching. Do make sure you hit the subscription button, and so you don't miss a bit when such content, because we're going to be doing this often, so you don't always get to miss a bit when something like this get uploaded. Thanks for watching, and make sure you visit Dab.school to pick up the course if you want to join our community where you get to be exposed on the different opportunities that are available in the blockchain industry. Thanks for watching once again. See you next week.